So let's just start at the top with the two players we think have the strongest case and great chance of getting in this year on the first ballot. The first is an obvious one. It is Ichiro. The second is CC Sabathia, who I think we feel pretty good about getting into the first ballot. But let's start with Ichiro. I think Ichiro, when, for years it was like, well, will we ever see a unanimous Hall of Famer? We finally got it with Mariano Rivera. Part of me wants to be like, oh yeah, Ichiro, of course. Who doesn't like Ichiro? This guy has to have one of the highest approval ratings of any, baseball player of all time. And I think that that's true. However, because the voting block is ridiculous and because the likes of Ken Griffey Jr. and Derek Jeter and all these other amazing players did not get 100%, I am not holding my breath that Ichiro will get 100, but it wouldn't totally stun me.
Some hater is going to sort by WAR and not vote Ichiro.
They're going to sort by slugging.
By slugging, yes.
I don't know if you're sorting by WAR. He's certainly qualified. I mean, it's not like overwhelming, but yeah.
Of course, he's qualified, but 60 wins above replacement over a career via Baseball Reference. That's Hall of Fame quality, but it's not first ballot, no doubt.
Sure.
Level. And so I'm sure that someone will make that argument in their brain and not vote for Ichiro right away.
But I don't think anyone's not voting for Ichiro because of WAR. That makes no sense. I think they're not voting for Ichiro because they're saying he was a singles hitter. Like, I really do think it would be that. I think it's way more simple. I think that's what it is.
Worth noting on Ichiro is that every single hitter with 3,000 career hits is in the Hall of Fame. If you get to 3,000 and you don't do roids like Alex Rodriguez or Rafael Palmeiro, and you're not Pete Rose, and you're not Albert Pujols or Miguel Cabrera, who are still eligible or still not eligible, you get in the Hall of Fame. It's literally everybody else.
Ichiro getting to 3,000 hits after debuting at age 27 is still one of the most ridiculous things you can fathom.
As a Marlin with a triple in Coors Field, it is the most brain-melting highlight that exists. So Ichiro means so much to so many people because of the cultural impact. And it's not just for Japanese baseball fans or even Japanese Americans. It's for a lot of young Asian American baseball fans who aren't Japanese. I remember having a long conversation with a friend of the show, Jun Lee, who's Korean, about how he loved Ichiro as his favorite player because he looked like him. And I think that impact cannot be overstated. Yeah. He is one of the most important players of the 21st century. Full stop. And I think he will get in first ballot. I do not think it will be unanimous.
Yep. And again, I think the other wild fact about Ichiro is the fact that we did not induct him last year. And the only reason for that is because he came back at the start of the 2019 season and did his 2-game farewell with the Mariners playing in Japan. Obviously, it's 5 years after your last game, and those 2 games in the early days of the 2019 season are the reason why he has not already been inducted.
All-time dorky baseball trivia. Who entered the game for Ichiro? Do you remember?
Oh, I remember. Braden Bishop, baby. Braden Bishop, who I don't think... Did he play baseball in 2024? I don't know that he did, but he will. And I believe that was his major league debut, which is part of the fun part of that trivia is March 21st, 2019. Here comes Braden Bishop for his MLB debut in Tokyo, and off goes Ichiro, and there were tears, and we were up at 6 a.m. to watch, and it was a wild time.
Braden Bishop running out, waving to the crowd. Thank you so much. This means thank you for cheering for me. The other guy who has a very strong chance to get in on this ballot is CC Sabathia.
This is another one where he sort of represents kind of the end of a starting pitcher generation in terms of just total compilation of stats, because he came in early enough where he could rack up just a ridiculous number of innings and pitches and complete games. And by the end of his career, we know that the expectations for the starting pitcher had changed. But this is someone who got to 3,000 strikeouts, got to 3,500 innings, 250 wins. These are benchmarks we just are very unlikely to see from starting pitchers basically ever again. I mean, I always feel weird saying that because the game could change again, and maybe we do end up getting starting pitchers that are once again, going deep into games the way CC was. But the total body of work here is pretty spectacular, and obviously one of the more popular figures and people still to this day. Of course, still a very important person in the Major League Baseball space.
3,000 strikeouts does not have the same type of sexy cachet as 3,000 hits, but it is just as notable in terms of getting into the Hall of Fame. Of all the players, there are 19 of them that have 3,000 strikeouts. They're all in the Hall of Fame, except for Roger Clemens, Dergs, Curt Schilling, Big Jerk, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer still playing baseball, CC Sabathia. So it's like, you do this, you probably get it.
I also believe, now I know some of these other players have certainly appeared on podcasts, but I think CC might be the first podcaster to make Cooperstown.
Wow.
I know he's not doing his show with Ryan Ruocco anymore, or at least not with any sort of regularity, but as someone who, I listen to R2C2 regularly, I think that is a historic moment here as someone regularly hosting a podcast. There's hope. There's hope for us, Jake. We could.
I would say the first player. I do think Jason Stark is in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, yes. I'm sorry. I'll keep it on the media. We'll move the media aside. I'm just looking at, I don't think Scott Rowland had some podcast that I didn't know about. So credit to CC, but obviously just an incredible career. And you can kind of break it into these three awesome chapters. Of course, the rise in Cleveland. He wins the Cy Young there. The legendary singular second half run with Milwaukee. That is one of the great kind of small sample epic runs. Not that small samples, maybe the wrong way to put it, but again, that was his only time with Milwaukee, right? So it's a unique situation. And then, of course, what he does in New York, winning the World Series in his first year there, and then making some All-Star teams. So it's an awesome career.
As a person who collects jerseys, my favorite jersey in my collection is my CC Sabathia Brewers one, just because it was so memorable and so brief.
17 starts, 7 complete games. He was worth 5 WAR after being acquired. 1.65 ERA. I mean, it is one of the more ridiculous runs we have ever seen. So CC is a legend, and I'm glad that he is still very much around Major League Baseball. Okay, so those two guys are very, very much likely going to be in the Hall of Fame. I think I would give CC a 85% chance of getting it on the first ballot. Ichiro, obviously, 100%.